that end-of-year review, that would be much appreciated.
Madam Chair.
I call the Honourable Eugenie Sage.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I think there are still some misconceptions around the opposition and their views on this bill. Ms Stanford talked about concerns about camping in the wrong place. Fish and Game does not have the power to issue infringement notices in relation to things like camping or any of the other matters in relation to the Marine Mammals Protection Act, the Marine Reserves Act. It's only in relation to the management of the sports fish and game bird hunting. And in the taupo fishery, for example, which the Department of Conservation manages, I asked the Department for some information on the types of issues that were arising there. And there were things like fishing in the closed season, fishing without a licence. So it's those sorts of offences that it would greatly assist fish and game councils around the rest of New Zealand to be able to issue an infringement notice for. They're not the sort of offences that you would take all the trouble to go and do a court prosecution, but they're probably more serious than just simply issuing a warning. So what the bill does, by bringing fish and game councils within its ambit just in relation to sports fishing, game bird hunting, and their ability to use infringement notices, is create consistency. Ms Stanford raised the issue of complaints. It's the annual report to the Minister of Conservation, and that annual report in the bill, it requires that any complaints are listed in the annual report. So obviously, if the Minister sees a number of complaints coming through, which Fish and Game must put in the report, then there would be questions asked about the compliance and enforcement policy and about the way the infringement notice system is operating. So that is a fairly significant safeguard. The other safeguard, of course, is that any of the revenue from infringement notices issued by Fish and Game goes to the Crown. So there's absolutely no incentive for Fish and Game rangers, officers, to use infringement notices just as a revenue generation tool. So I think there are sufficient safeguards which the majority of the Select Committee, chaired by Dr Deborah Russell, put in the bill to ensure that they will be used effectively and that the system will be a fair one. And it is being fair to those people who mightn't take their licence with them, who might fish outside the season. It's more appropriate that there's the option of having an infringement notice issued rather than they've just simply warned or there's a prosecution taken. So I think it will lead to a fairer system. And I'm intrigued by the comments of the national members in terms of their very positive comments about state servants and the state sector, and wish that that applied in relation to other legislation before this House. Really pleased that they have that confidence in the department, but should remind them that Fish and Game councils have significant statutory powers in terms of enforcement. They are a statutory organisation, and I'm confident that they have got the skills and ability, and there are the checks in this legislation to ensure that these provisions around infringement notices are properly applied and those notices are properly issued. I should also note, Madam Chair, that there's a supplementary order paper in my name, number 183, and this just ensures that a lapse in the bill, which didn't refer to regulations under the Marine Mammals Act, is corrected, because there are regulations under the Marine Mammals Act which deal with things like harassment of marine mammals, and we wanted to ensure that the infringement notices could be used in those circumstances where someone was harassing a marine mammal, getting too close to a marine mammal. So this SOP 183 simply ensures that it can apply to those offences which are implemented by regulations.
The question is that Sarah Dowie's tabled amendments to Part 1 to remove the power for Fish and Game rangers